Mr. Chairman, good to see you again. At your confirmation hearing, you and I discussed the issue of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, the PCAOB, which was formed, as you know, after some major companies like Enron failed after cooking their books, and none of their auditors stopped in to correct the issues, and Enron's failure alone cost its shareholders about $67 billion. So Congress created the PCAOB, in effect, to audit the auditors and make sure they stop fraud at companies they audit before we have catastrophic failures like we witnessed in the Enron case. When you and I talked about this before in the Banking and Housing Committee, you agreed that the function played by the PCAOB was essential. Is that still the case?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yep. So one of the reasons I raised it then was I was concerned about efforts to fold the PCAOB into the SEC because of concerns that it would lose its punch and its ability to do the job. The House Reconciliation Bill, as you know, does fold the PCAOB into the SEC. I think that it will fail under the Byrd rule, but I want to talk for a moment about the merits of that proposal. Because my understanding from the SEC itself is that, at least as of last month, the SEC does not have the personnel with the experience conducting those in-depth examinations or inspections of registered public accounting firms. That's based on information from the Office of the Chief Accountant. Do you have any reason to think otherwise?
No, because we don't have that function. But if we get if it's folded into the SEC and we get the funding, we could take over that function using the examiners, I would imagine, from the PCAOB and not miss a beat.
Well, I want to press you a little bit on that, Mr. Chairman. How many of the 600 PCAOB employees does the SEC plan to hire to keep this important function going?
Well, we haven't done any study on that yet. But
you say very easily that you could absorb them. That obviously requires additional funding, does it not?
Exactly, and the way I understand it, that funding is contemplated by the.
Well, so it's interesting you say that because the PCAOB right now is funded by a firm, a fee on the firms it oversees, right?
Well, and also on public companies, there's basically a wealth tax on companies.
But it's a fee. It's a fee-generated revenue. Right?
That the SEC approves. And
yes,
right.
But the reconciliation bill, Mr. Chairman, eliminates that authority. It eliminates the authority of the PCAOB. I mean, it eliminates the PCAOB. It folds it in the SEC. It does not include the authority to raise have fee-based revenue. Were you aware of that?
Yes, but what I understand is that there is contemplated, funding for that, and built into our budget, we do have, since it's an even budget from last year, when you account for people who have left voluntarily from the SEC, we have about $100 million or so that could help tide it over.
Right. I think. Are you aware of what the current PCAOB budget is?
It's perhaps 400. I don't.
Yeah, no, you got it. You got it right. It's 400 million. You've got 100 million in your budget. That's a $300 million gap. If you want to maintain, in my view, the same functionality, which is something that I think all of us should be very interested in, not just with respect to U.S. companies, but as you and I discussed, Senator Kennedy and I passed legislation to make sure that companies based in China that are publicly listed on U.S. exchanges are subject to this audit procedure. I assume you think that's a good thing, that they're subject to that.
Well, I think the functions of PCAOB are vital, as we spoke of before, and should that be folded into us, we'll be back to you all to for the proper resources to carry it forward, so we won't miss a beat on that.
I'm just saying, Mr. Chairman, it's pretty clear that the resources are not there in this budget if it gets folded in. I mean, as you pointed out, you've got 100 million extras. We're both pointing out the current budget is 400 million. So unless you really think you can fire or get rid of a lot of people and still do the job, we have an issue here. But I'm in my view, when something is not broken, we shouldn't try to come up with a different fix. If there are reforms to the PCAOB that you recommend, maybe that would be a better route to take if we want to make sure that they continue to have the capacity to oversee, companies in China and elsewhere. I would also just point out in closing, Mr. Chairman, that a number of other countries have raised concerns about this contemplated change in the House because their agreements, their audit agreements, are with the PCAOB, and they point out that it is not a U.S. government entity, right? It's a separate, independent entity. And as soon as that role is taken over by a more of a government entity, all those agreements will need to be renegotiated if they're willing to renegotiate them. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope we can continue to pursue this issue because I think that what the House did is essentially breaking a system that is actually working quite well right now.